they were offering a 3-week training in January. So I met Roger at the beginning of December. So now I'm into January. I'd never taken more than 5 days off of work in my life, and only because I was mandated to, because I was so burned out. And so taking 3 weeks off to slow down, that just really went against everything I'd ever been programmed to think. But I thought, I could see these guys were in a better place than I was, and I wanted to be there. So whatever they did, I was going to do. So you want me to come for 3 weeks and do nothing? I'll figure it out. So I did. I had Claudia covered my clients in Minneapolis, and I went down and I lived in a hotel, and I took a bus back and forth to the Advanced Human Studies Institute, which was a little hole in the wall place that in my mind was a big institute, right? It was this little hole in the wall. As it turned out, I realized after I got there that maybe there were 10 people in the world that were actually doing this work. And there weren't many of us, but I was like, okay. So about a week and a half after I got there, Sydney Banks came down for vacation. And I was allowed to come to hear him talk at Roger's house the first time. And I remember it because I was expecting, some guy kind of levitating or, coming with a turban on or something. I was expecting something special, right? Like I thought I for sure I'm going to see this. And so I was waiting, and this meek, mild-mannered man, the most ordinary human being you could possibly think of, walks in the door. But the feeling that he had was extraordinary. So I could feel that this is who it was. So I remember sitting there, he's talking to me and I'm listening, and I feel like he's touching my soul and I can't move. I have no idea what he said. Really, I have no idea what he said. But I know that when I went home that night, I thought, wow, this is a whole nother level. Like I thought I had changed so much that was like all there was. And then when I met him, I realized like, oh, that just brought me up to where the rest of the world is. I have a whole nother to that, if not more. So I was lucky because he saw something in me and asked if he could meet with me. And I remember we went to the swap meet. Now you got to remember, I'm 30 years old, single. Swap meets, not my thing. Right. Like I can say that I never went to a swap meet before that. He was enamored with swap meets. He loved them. And he was amazing because he would walk along and suddenly he would find these treasures, just treasures, and pictures that were like, he thought were just like beautiful, magical, and things that were really, really interesting. I've got it here somewhere. I got a shoehorn from him. He found this shoehorn with a horse's head on the top of it. And I was like, that is so cool. He goes, you want it? I was like, okay. So, it was one of the gifts from the swap meet. But what was interesting is that he was so quiet, like walking with him through the swap meet was like walking in another reality. It's like everybody was there, but he was in such a quiet place. And I remember my mind was going crazy because I was still so busy-minded. And the difference would make you see how much thinking you were doing. Like you could feel the difference. And I'm like, okay, just shut up. Don't say anything. Because I'd say something. He said it was funny because when you'd say something that was a little goofy, he would just like not hear it. So you'd say something like, Sid, da 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 da. Oh, look over here. And I'd be like, okay, I guess that wasn't the right thing to say. So then I'd go back to listening again. And I learned then just how much I wanted to converse, to connect with him rather than listen to connect. And he was funny about that because to this day, they're like, yeah, that's a good thing. And if he didn't say that, you were totally out to lunch. So that became, after I spent time with him down there, I came back to Minneapolis, and again, another tidal wave went out because I changed an equal amount again. And people were like, oh my God, what's going on with her? So we were working and continuing. Joe had his private practice and I had my business, but the word was going out that we were doing something different. So people would get referred to my clinic and then they go to other people. And I just didn't feel like that was ethical. The other thing that happened was we had this big, in the mansions that they had this, and it had this big ballroom in the top floor. And then they had little rooms around the outside of it. So we all had offices in the little rooms, and the big room, the main room, was the reception area. So everyone's clients would wait out there and then you'd take them into your room. Well, my groups started to have such laughter. There'd be peals of laughter coming out. So their clients would be sitting in the waiting area and then going in and saying, what kind of therapy is that? I want to do that kind of therapy. So they got really insecure about this and had to confront me and let me know that. I mean, I used to do like anger work with people. I used to do where they hit pillows with sticks to get anger out. I said, come on, you guys, you have to see that I'm in a better state of mind than I was. You have to know that I'm doing better therapy than I did before. Now, I understand you don't, because they all went to the same training, but they didn't get it, right? They just didn't see it. And so I said, you got to understand, people like what they're learning and they're changing, they're getting better. And that shut them up. I mean, I didn't back down on it, but I got with Joe and I said, Joe, we need to set up really what turned out to be the first true clinic based on the principles, the Minneapolis Institute of Mental Health. So we did that, we got that. And then I remember Sid kept telling us that this was going to go out in psychology. So we kept waiting for psychologists to show up. In the meantime, all these addiction professionals showed up. And both of us worked in addictions, right? So it was, we totally missed the boat. Here they are coming, training, and we're still waiting for the psychologist. We're still, by the way, we're still waiting for the psychologist to show up. It was interesting. So we hired several people that came and learned, and then we all kind of were learning together. And it was really a magical 2 years.